Hello, YouTube. So, this may not surprise a lot of you, but I am unemployed. And you think that with all these managers saying, well, no one wants to work, that me finding a job would be very easy, piece of cake. You know, I just walk in there and boom, I come out with a job. But instead, I learned that it's not easy. In fact, anytime I apply for a job, I'm lucky if I even get a response back. So, I'm here to just talk about what I hate about, job hunting, especially with the fact that I have autism, and yeah, just gonna go with that. So, I have been looking for a job for a while now, and every time that I go and fill out the thing, and here's the thing, for me I'm a bit sick, so don't worry about that, but I have been applying for tons of jobs on Indeed, and the thing with Indeed is that half the jobs aren't even real. And it sucks because a lot of these jobs, they'll literally be like, oh, do you have a disability at all? And, I had a ton of, non-disabled people who were telling me, oh, you should fill it out, because then they'll, they'll want disabled people. No, they do not. They do not. That's a fucking lie. All these jobs want is they want to know who are the easy ones that they can just cut out, because it doesn't matter if your resume looks good. Immediately after I check that box that says, yeah, I have a disability, at that point I might as well consider myself not getting the job. And it sucks because 30 years ago, there was a whole thing hey, you can't discriminate against people with disabilities getting a job. Well, they're still fucking doing it. They're just not doing it right in your face, They might not have no disabled people, directly right on there, but if they're, saying, oh, you need to carry 50 pounds, yeah, they're pretty much telling you, hey, if you're disabled, go fuck yourself, don't try with us, and it's something that it's a pain in the ass, because all these jobs are oh, no one wants to work, no one wants to do that, and yet everyone I know in my life who is autistic is I've been applying for jobs out the ass and I haven't gotten anything in response, and it's making me wonder, well, who's lying here? Because I know, as an autistic myself, we suck at lying, so it's definitely not us. So, the lying is definitely not being done by us. I mean, who would lie about applying for 80 jobs and not getting a response back? Or if they do get a response, it's from a shady telemarketing company, It's very much one of those things. And then there's the struggles I've seen my non-disabled college grad friends. And even they are hey, I just graduated from uni, I have a 4-year degree, will you take me? And they're no, you're overqualified. What the fuck? Okay, so apparently I'm underqualified, but they're overqualified. So what the fuck kind of worker do these people want? Do they want, what is, the right, what makes you properly qualified? Is it, oh, you gotta have, a little bit of college and 2 years job? Well, that's too little nowadays. You can't have 2 years job experience and expect to get employed. If you think that's gonna get you in, that's tough luck, because nowadays if you have only 2 years experience, there are only a few options for you. You either sell shit on eBay, or you become a delivery driver, or you could do a bunch of other things, but I'm not going to say them here because frankly I do not want to get apprehended by the FBI or some shit, but yeah, those are your main two options. And if you don't have a driver's license, which I know a lot of like autistics don't have driver's licenses, well then you're extra fucked. So there you are, no job, no license. You need a license to get a job, but to get your license, you can't really have a job because no job's gonna take you if you have your license, so you gotta get your license. But, you know, it's like, it's a whole bunch of bullshit. And it really does go to show, like, when I see someone who's like, oh, people are too lazy, they don't want to work anymore. No, I think the problem is just that the job experience is so, like, applying for jobs is so fucking tedious at this point that no one wants to do it. Because 90% of the time, no response, no callback, nothing, you know? And I find it, you know, like, very telling when there are some people who go, oh, well, I'm 18 and I'm making like $50,000 a month. What? How the fuck are you making like how much money? And then you watch their video and it's like, oh, my dad had this job. I'm like, fucking course. Fucking course. You see, we are in a very big period of just the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. That's what's going on. And I see a lot of like shit from you know, people who say, oh, well, if you just work harder, you'll get more money, you'll get by. Well, there's only so many fucking hours in a day. And if you're making $15 an hour, it doesn't matter if you're working yourself 40 or 80 hours a day. Because here's what's gonna happen. You work that 40, you're barely getting by, and yeah, you have time to rest and see friends and, you know, do other things. But if you're just working 80 hours, sure, you may be able to scratch by, but you're gonna be a lot more miserable because that level of dedication isn't really gonna get you anywhere. Because if your boss thinks, oh, you're talking about your wage too much, or oh, you showed up a couple minutes late, that's the equivalent of you not showing up at all. Yeah, guess what? That 80 hours that you worked that week, it's not gonna mean shit. And it's an unfortunate situation. And there's so many older people who are like, oh, well, just apply to this place. Okay, I applied to that place. And they said that me not knowing how to, like, that's the thing with job interviews too. They're literally like the things that they will like put against you are like always like autistic traits. And I get told by people, oh, well, just make eye contact, just seem normal. Okay, well, that's easier said than done, you know, because let me just do a little like demonstration here. Let me see. I'll just take drawing pens. So let's say this is someone's face, and let's say this button right here is someone's eye. Now, when I make eye contact with someone, I feel like I'm getting laser shoved into my eye. And that's very hard to explain to neurotypicals, because neurotypicals don't experience that. So, basically, you know, eye contact, it feels weird, it feels uncomfortable, it doesn't, like, I feel like I have no room to breathe, like, at all. And then, when I don't make eye contact, because it overwhelms me sensory-wise, of course, all these fucking places have fluorescent lights, there's all these sounds in the back and shit like that, so it's already hard enough to not be overstimulated. And it doesn't also help with the fact that there's so much put into you. Your job interviews are always make it or break it. And if you do one little thing wrong, well, you're fucked. Your livelihood is gone. It's, you know, it's very much a hilarious thing how we're always told, oh, you need a job to live, you need a job to do this. Well, if you're disabled, it seems like, job? Do you really need that? Why not you just fucking die? You know, and it's even worse too when, you know, I'm seeing all these news, like, outlets that are putting up, like, articles where they're, like, saying how they can cure autism, or how they can, like, what was the other thing? Or, like, oh, if you're, like, dealing with stuff, you can sign up for, like, assisted suicide. And it's like, what? And then you see, like, there's other countries, like in England, if you have, like, autism and they think, like, you'd be better off dead, they will, like, badger you to sign a do not resuscitate, or they'll be sneaky little fuckheads and they'll sneak one on there when you aren't looking. So, yeah, it definitely is a very dismal situation if you are autistic and looking at today's job market. In fact, there have been numerous interviews I've done over this last year where I go in, I give an interview, I give it my best, I do everything that I get told, and I end up with nothing. And it's like, why should I even try at this point? There's no one that's going to hire me. I've done interviews at literally places that I've been told anyone could get. I've been to places, I've interviewed at places where it's like, oh, if you dropped out of high school and you want to make money, go to us. And I'm like, okay. And it's fucking bullshit. Like, why am I not getting employed at places where it should be easy as fuck to get employed? Like, like, the jobs I'm applying for, they aren't like these jobs that require like a lot of shit. They're like retail jobs. I've applied like at Walmart and shit. I've applied at numerous retail places and gas stations and all this, and they'll come back to me and they'll be like, oh, sorry, you don't have enough experience. Well, how much fucking experience do I need? I'm 18. I only have like, what, 2-3 years of possible experience? What the fuck do you want? I can't have 5 free years of experience when I'm 18. You know, it's very rare as an 18-year-old to even have 1 or 2 years, you know? So it's like, you know, at this state, we're just fucked, you know? And you know, it seems like a lot of people are like, oh, just don't worry, you'll get a job one day. Yeah, maybe in like 3 years, by that point, I'm gonna be like destitute because, gee, none of the jobs want to hire me. And then when I walk in there, they're gonna tell me I'm overqualified or some bullshit, which is probably their little way of saying, oh, we think you're like, you know, that thing, but we don't want to like bring it up, so we're just not gonna hire you. And it really does go to show that this job market is not friendly towards autistics, and that if you really want a job in today's market as an autistic person, you're like gonna have to break your back. And by that point, it's not really like, basically put it here, every autistic person that I know who's going down that route is showing a lot of signs of, hey, I'm going to end my own life like one day. That's the vibe I always get from the workaholic autistics. Always like, you know, like, that's something that, you know, it's a miserable life. And people are like, oh, well, you know, if you want to live comfortable, it takes a lot. Yeah, then it shouldn't be. And you just being a little shithead who just does nothing but sit on your ass and just mindlessly consumes your, you know, like, that's another thing too. I think a lot of people don't understand that when I say comfortable, it's a lot different from what other people think when they say comfortable. Because for me, I don't need much, you know? I'm not like, I don't need a Lamborghini or like a 6-bedroom house. I just want an apartment, like just a simple ass apartment. And, you know, just my own space, you know? Working a comfortable job where I'm not breaking my back 24/7. You know, and it seems like when interviewers hear that you don't want to break your back at a job, they think you're lazy. No, I don't want to end up on Social Security, barely being able to afford food at 40, just because I wanted a comfortable life during a recession in my 20s. Does that, did I make that clear? You know? And it doesn't help, too, that all the jobs are like, you know, very much dominated by like autistic people, like, you know, like art and music. Like, people are working excessively to create AI to like remove like the actual part of it. And I feel like in a way that's because, you know, in our society that values money and making money and all the bullshit of more money, more, the idea of something organic, like something from someone's intrinsic personality that can't be replicated, is so forbidden, because we're taught since a young age that if we want to succeed, we gotta be these carbon copies, that if you're different, you get made fun of and bullied until you either conform or you kill yourself because of the extreme bullying. It's very much a lose-lose situation, and no one neurotypical really seems to understand it. Like, no matter how hard I try to say anything, I get belittled, I get told that I'm over-exaggerating, I get told that, oh, it will just get better one day being never, you know? So it's fucking, it's a mind fuck to be job hunting in 2024 when you are autistic. And I'm going to say I don't have any advice on how to find a job because I haven't found one. I haven't, and I'm not like an expert at it. So yeah, that's all I really had today. It's just that, you know, it's, you know, just very much wears on you, you know, like, I say this as I have another job interview on Tuesday, but the thing is that I'm almost certain I may not get it, because they don't really give a fuck if I live or die, I guess, you know? And the more that I think about it, the more I just end up in an existential crisis. And it's so hard when people just tell you, oh, just work harder. But what if I am working my hardest? Like, what then? You know? And you can't fail, you know? It's like, failure is like ad hominem in our work culture. You're late, you make a little mistake, you don't know exact details, you aren't always like on top of things, you days or whatever. If you're not perfect, then you're just done at that point. And when people say, oh, just go on Social Security, get unemployment, yeah, I've seen numerous people try that, and it isn't successful. So pretty much the one option being given to you if you are autistic and you need a job is just fucking die. And that is why I hate today's job market as someone who's autistic. And as you can see, I made my hair different, and I also got a long sleeve finally. I fucking love it. It's my favorite thing in a while. Bye.